Hi, I'm Tinny from Design, and today I'm out here in the factory boiling a little bit of water with a BIOS 5. Now, I'm kind of torn between making bicycle videos and making stove videos. So I thought what I'd do today is I'd make two videos, and one I just talk about stoves, and in the second one I'll just talk about bicycles. So if you don't want to get into the bicycle part of it, don't watch that one, and if you don't want to get into the stove part of it, don't watch that one. So here we go. Okay, this is a BIOS 5. It's a real good stove, probably the #1 stove I'd recommend if you're going to do a long hike like the Appalachian Trail, or any time where you're going to be out putting in a lot of miles and you're going to be real tired. The reason I say that is it's a stove you don't have to worry about. You don't have to worry about it getting wrecked. You don't have to worry about losing any parts, because it doesn't have any parts other than itself. You don't need a pot stand. You just take it out of your pack, put a little alcohol on the wick, pour some alcohol in the center, and light it. And in about 10 seconds, 12 seconds, it'll blossom out. You can put your pot on and boil your water, and that's that. And if you didn't have enough alcohol in it, when it goes out, just pour some more in, light it, and go again. Real simple, real rugged, real inexpensive, very dependable, no frills stove. Now, the BIOS 5 is quite a bit hotter than the BIOS Micro. So I use a BIOS 5 with a 12 centimeter pot, which is a 40-ounce pot. I use a BIOS Micro with a 10 centimeter pot, which is 24 ounces. Yeah, 40 and 24. And the BIOS Micro works good, solo hiker, takes a little longer to boil water. You can use it with a 12 centimeter pot. It'll work fine, it'll just take a little longer to bring it to a boil, maybe another couple of minutes. Now, if you're going to do baking and simmering and all that kind of stuff, where you're going to need a smaller flame, then I'd go to a wick stove. Like my personal favorite would be a Bongo Original, with no donut wick, just with a center wick, about 3/4 of an inch long. And depending on how long you're going to cook, you can either use just a 4 and 8 ounce nipple cap or gravity cap and fuel it. If you're nearby where you can watch the flame, when the flame starts to die back, you can refuel it. Or if you have a level spot and a little more time to goof around, you can use a remote, either a slimline remote or a big gulp remote, a heat bottle remote, a SS adjustable remote. Any of those will work just fine. It just takes a little more fudging around to get the height correct. But then, once you get it set, you can cook for virtually an hour, no problem. With the heat bottle remote, you just set it up and it'll go an hour, because if you have a full heat bottle, it'll go several hours. Or if you're going with a big gulp, you have to watch when the level starts to get down, just screw the lid off and pour some more alcohol in. But it'll go probably 20 minutes between refills that way. Usually enough for anything. If you're going to bake, you can do it with one filling. Now, when it comes to baking, what I recommend is, if you're using a 12 centimeter pot with a 10 centimeter cut down pot inside with a pot ring, baking ring, and a lid, I would recommend a BIOS Original, a Bongo Original, and trim the wick right down level with the top. That'll give you just a light flame, almost perfect for baking. The trouble with baking usually is too much heat. If you don't have enough heat, you can just bake a little bit longer, but if you have too much, you'll burn it. Now, one of my favorite techniques is to trim the wick down level so you get a medium heat, and cook it for about 20 to 23 minutes. And then take the lid off. And it's looking brown right around the top edges, right between the top of the cake and the side of the pot. I put the lid back on, blow the flame out, and just let it set for 10 or 15 minutes and cook with its own heat without any external heat. And that usually does it quite nicely. Other people have used different techniques, but for me, that's the safest way to do it. Because if you try to bake right up till it's done, you may go over a little bit and burn the bottom. But with the technique I just told you about, of blowing the flame out, leaving the lid on, and letting it cook for 15 minutes, you'll get almost foolproof every time. You'll get it'll be done, but it won't be burned. Now, if you're going to simmer, I would probably use the BIOS Bongo Original, with the wick up maybe a ½ an inch, and you can fuel it every few minutes and monitor your boil. If it boils too high, let it burn back a little bit. Or you can set up a remote. You set it just a little bit lower so it doesn't fuel the stove so much, and you can maintain a boil for a really long time. Probably on a 4-ounce bottle you could maintain a simmer for maybe an hour, maybe a little bit longer. Long enough certainly to do anything. And with these stoves, they're not really that well, lend themselves that well to cooking for a large group of people. They're more designed for 1 or 2 people, preferably 1, but you can cook for 2 people. It just takes a little bit longer because you're going to be boiling 4 cups instead of 2 cups, and it's going to take you probably twice as long to boil it. Instead of boiling in 6 minutes, it'll probably take you 12 or 14 minutes to boil 4 cups of water. But they will do it. But if I was going to boil water for 2 people, I'd probably go with the BIOS 5 because it has a little hotter flame and just works out better. With a micro, you're probably going to have to stop and refill before you get done. Okay, I think that's enough for this video. I'm thinking about putting another cook kit in the store based on a BIOS, on a mini atomic cook kit with a mini atomic, a 5x23 pot stand, and a 10-centimeter pot. And I think that would be a popular cook kit. You know, that and a windscreen and hand wrap and one of the Bud Light lightweight lids for $30. I'm thinking about putting that in. If you think that's something you'd be interested in, let me know. Now I still have my maybe stove, my squirrel cage maybe stove. I call it a maybe cage. I made one and I've never sold it because I'm asking $100 for it. And if that doesn't sell, keep your eyes open. If it doesn't sell in a few days, I'm going to have to lower the price on it. I don't plan on making any of them. It's just I built a one for that, just for the heck of it. Now what I may do is, I may just keep it and use it for my own private stove. And pair that up with a heat bottle, a remote, and that'd be a pretty good setup for me, especially because I do a lot of cooking right here on benchtop. I don't know as I take that stove out on the Appalachian Trail. It's a lot of stove for carrying in your pack for the Appalachian Trail, but that depends on the person. If you're really going to do a lot of gourmet cooking, which almost nobody on the Appalachian Trail does, then that might be a good stove for you. I know a lot of people think they're going to do all kinds of cooking out on the Appalachian Trail, but after they get out and start doing miles, they realize it's really not practical, especially when you get into camp after dark and you just want to get a hot meal and get to bed. So, I'm Tinny from Mini Bull Design. Get out and hike. Take a friend. Enjoy the great outdoors. And more important than anything, try to have some fun today and try to have a really great day. Bye-bye.